All right, guys, we can get started now. I'm going to start sharing my screen. All right, so just giving a brief, market update. Again, Friday wasn't the best close that we saw. Again, little short week with the holidays, but again, most major sectors did not close the best, other than really just the biotechs that barely closed up. But we can see pretty clearly, consumer staples down, utilities down, every telecom breaking major support. We saw NASDAQ kind of put in this bearish engulfing at new all-time highs. Definitely not what you want to see. Same with the SPY break and this little Mickey Mouse flag that was forming for the last week or two. We saw tech getting hit. We saw pretty much every sector, with some significant profit taking. And we really haven't seen like 3% down days in most of these sectors in quite a bit. We saw, in the utility sector, we saw that in the REITs, we saw that in the industrials, we saw in the mid caps. It's kind of like a broken record. Financials down almost 4%. Same with small caps, along with energy. So seems like the overall message is trying to be hands off while the dust settles. A lot of charts are kind of broken right now. It's gonna be very hard to expect, just an immediate run back to highs given what we're kind of seeing here. Scanning most names, there hasn't really been much. For myself, I'm really only in this MDB for a little sneaky buyback from, I think I got it on Thursday, versus 480 for now. The only other real name on my radar is SSNC, just an earnings flag up through this 80 in time. And then a few other ones that probably need a little longer to set up. We have this Goldman Sachs up through 420. Again, it's near support. If this can, probably push down through 380, and we can start to see this, 200-day start to act as support, we might be able to start to sneak into this, up off of support versus having to be perfect buying 420. But again, a lot of names that have been coming into support, especially the Dow 30 names, have been breaking. So we don't want to be the first ones to kind of just rush in and buy 370 if we're given that chance. We want to see it hold and trade higher. This Aflac still flagging very nicely. It hasn't really gotten too beat up this past week. Still looking to buy it up through 58 as the 200-day continues to act as support. And then two other ones, we have this Mitch as it comes into major support. Again, we want to remember that a lot of these stocks have been breaking support. So it's not like, I'm looking to just try to buy, 130 with a 129 stop. I want to see if it can hold this, and more than likely probably buy up through 140 versus whatever this new pivot low is going to be. And lastly, one to keep on the radar is this Airbnb that, again, starting to, had that big earnings reaction, reversed it. And now maybe this is going to be the new area of support, this area, maybe not 165 perfectly, but maybe this 160 area that was resistance, back in May to September is maybe now starting to act as support. So a couple of things to keep on the radar, but I think for this week, it might just be less is more, kind of focus on one or two of your best ideas and not go too crazy. So with that, that's kind of the end of what I want to go over. If anyone else wants to jump in, maybe Heaven, if you want to go over what you're looking at, and then we can jump into anyone else who wants to go over what they're going over as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm looking at my hands sitting under my butt is what I'm mostly looking at. I mean, I've spoken to a couple of people who have reached out and just told me that their trades have been failing lately. So it's obviously a common theme. You're not the only one, which is what I keep telling everybody. But sometimes it's time to just sit on your hands, at least as a swing trader, and what we do for the most part, I don't think will work right now. So if you're shortening your time frame, like Sheikh mentioned in the shakedown over the weekend, and that's your shtick, and you're good at that, then this is probably your environment. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and what that strategy is, then you probably want to just take some time to maybe sit back, risk off, and focus more on the learning part of maybe the shorter term stuff, see what Sheikh is doing, and just watching the markets. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty risk off. It feels pretty nice to just not want to buy anything, to be honest. So, I'm all about that fear and greed index as well. So, like Sheikh mentioned, yesterday or Friday morning, it was like in the green around like 60s, and now it's down to like 35. And I think that's where the best opportunities come, is when that fear is really, really high, and then we can see some things start to turn around. So I'm super patient, waiting for my meatballs.
I like it. All right. Yeah, so again, as having you kind of going over, I was just drawing up, the spine again. Just we've been seeing these little pockets of kind of harder trading, and we're starting to, at least in my opinion, is start to get into one of those more difficult periods. And this is often the time when we want to like rush into things immediately, where it's we give the market even like a week or two usually is enough. A lot of these little periods where trading was pretty crappy, it really was a month at max, and we're kind of this will be technically starting about that second week of that. So if we can just give it 2 or 3 weeks of just letting the market kind of flush itself out and reset, we can come back in as we kind of get a little bit closer to this support area of this range that we've been in. It was just much easier to be buying, over here than trying to be buying, perfectly in that little flag up near high. So, definitely agree with everything you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, anybody else? Anyone else look at anything? All right, Carl, for some reason, I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you.
Nope.
No. Sorry, Carl.
Do you know sign language?
You want to type in the chat with the charts are? We'll pull them up.
Yeah, there's a little chat bubble at the bottom. Carl's looking at J&J, Moderna, and CDU.
I was like, damn, he really nailed what he's looking at. All right, so focusing on the final next. All right, so anyone else have any? I feel like this might be probably our shortest and quickest one ever. But let's see. You called it, Evan.
There it is.
Hey.
Hey, Ben. I'm kind of looking at WTRG, just kind of setting up here, coming out of that, it's like the third or fourth time they're at that 47.66 area. Obviously, Friday was a big day down, but I think if it breaks that, we might be able to have a little bit of a runner here.
I mean, I feel like if this would come back, I would not really expect it to turn back up to this like 48 today, but there's no reason why this couldn't kind of pull back into this 46, maybe even flush this area, and then kind of turn its way back up. And that's where maybe instead of having to buy 48, maybe you could kind of sneak in, it flushes 46, goes down to 45.50, turns back up, and you can get, some up versus 47 to be in for that move, up into the 49s. But definitely see the base you're looking at there. Stuff looks good, but just, I wouldn't expect this to go today, given, kind of.
No. Given Friday, no, but just in that area somewhere.
Yeah. No, I like
awesome.
Cool.
And then we got Kurtman. Kurtman is looking at snap support buy at 51.
This is tough. I mean, I actually bought a little up through 56 like a week or two ago, but I think snap is just still it's a really tough trade. I mean, it's like a shot. It's like this is definitely not like an A setup or a B setup. Like this is just it's very low probability just because it's
low probability, low risk.
Yeah,
but
very tough.
From my experience and just seeing charts and trading them over the last couple of years, when a stock gaps down on earnings and doesn't quickly go and try to fill that gap, it's usually not the one you want to be buying off support. So I would definitely I would wait a lot longer for this one and buy it through that 60 in time so that it's going for that actual gap fill, because that's where the buyers are going to come in. I don't want to be the first one to try to pick this up off the ground.
Yeah. I 100%. Even I feel like this will need at least
another quarter, probably
a quarter
maybe
at least before
maybe two. Yeah.
But again, even when I bought this here, it was very tiny, like very small amount, and it's very tough in this.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, from there at that point, it makes sense because you're buying off the first pivot after that big sell-off. It's finally starting to pivot. There's low risk, low probability. Here, I think it's even lower probability with about the same risk as where you tried to buy. So I think it's I would probably hold off on that for a little bit. And if you're looking at the moving averages, it's sitting below the 200, below the 50. They're all pointing down. It's those are just flags that red flags for me.
Yeah. Carl also mentioned this PFE. I mean, I'm not sure. Okay. I guess you're just talking about setup. All right, let's see. Tim, TGNX.
TGNA, I think. Was it TGNX or TGNA?
TGNA.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's looking at, I'm assuming, through this 2150. I mean, it's definitely a nice flag. I just hate $20 stocks.
Yeah, that's a really nice earnings flag.
But that does look good.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Makes sense. Actually, I didn't even notice when you zoom out. Yeah, I mean, it's a big monthly level even. So I think it could be worth a shot, but I don't know much about this one.
I've got one.
What's up, Dylan?
CRTO.
CLTO.
CRTO.
That was the trade of the week last week or 2 weeks ago.
Potentially, yes.
So you're looking up through what, 42, or you're trying to get it a little closer off this?
It's got the bottom at 38 and then 42, but see if it can close in where the 40 and the 42, see if we can close in between there to go again.
Mm-hmm.
Like it. I feel like if we get like a little shake of this 38 to the downside and then back up, you probably get a little more follow through than if it just perfectly holds us and everyone in here really doesn't get kind of shaken out. But yeah, let's see. Like
And was also looking at LRCX. Yeah, definitely see the level, but look at what it's done from 540 to 660 in the last couple of weeks. It's hard to buy it here. Now we want to see the sideways consolidation.
if we get a couple of weeks when it's just hanging out here, then definitely. But yeah, just like you said, Heaven, it's very hard to buy this 660 or 670 and then just expect it to continue this another 100-point plus move that it's already gone on. Let's see, shop. I think shop's a little tricky up here.
Yeah.
I feel like you need this almost to kind of come back into this area before we're really going to see any substantial move back up, back above these highs for now.
Yeah. These big names, they take a long time to set up. So you don't want to try to get fancy with like these quick reversals and things like that. You look at shop, it's like it takes months to really consolidate and show us a real buying level. So, there was a nice one, I think, a couple of weeks ago on that
Amazon.
November 12th. That was a nice breakout through that like 1560 area. But up here, it's just the range is just so wide. It's a little all over the place. I would wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Someone said Amazon.
Yeah, Carl, your mic finally worked. Yeah, I mean, I had it up recently through Amazon up through, what was it, 34, I think. I still think it looks great, weekly, monthly, looks phenomenal. But again, just a big, we got this 500-point range. So if we can, get any other ads that are closer towards the support area of this range versus this upper end of the range, I think that's going to be where we can make the money. Like trying to get it in this area versus up here is still, still a little too tough to.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Simple as that. Buy support, sell all-time highs.
Yeah. Juan's looking at you. I think that's trade of the week this week. Yeah, looking for the pivot buy because it's like recent highs, triple or double inside day. We can definitely see the tightness. Yeah, this one's on the shakedown, so you know the game plan.
Let's see, we got pins. it's a little tough here. I mean,
I think someone was comparing it to Snap,
Oh,
kind of,
gotcha.
kind of like, so yeah, I would say both of them are kind of in that same scenario where they're getting crushed on earnings and they're failing to go and fill the gap. She tried it that one time on the previous earnings, tried to go fill the gap, failed, gapped hard down again on earnings. Just not one I want to be the first one in, back into. I want to see it prove itself first.
Yeah, if this could start to base out, like if this 40, this was the prior break, I love it. 40 now becomes a new support, and maybe it needs to base between 40 and 50 for a few months, and then start to work its way up. And that's like, I think the one thing that we kind of discount is that like QLYS reminds me of this, where this name based, and I missed it. I know we were watching this name for a while, and this was like the base that we were watching. And we just like expect that during this bait, like as the breakdown in the base, that it's just gonna like rocket right back to highs. Like it's just gonna, it's gonna break this base and just, get back to the prior all-time highs very quickly, when it's just usually a much slower process. And I think this pins is like, it's still breaking down, other than this, little part where it kind of broke out of that, but now it's still breaking down. It still needs to base, and that probably will take a few months. And then it's like that's, that way, that slow grind back to those highs where, maybe this takes 6 months or a year, and, who's to say it can't get back up here? But I just don't think that, buying 42 versus 40, you're going to be involved for that move. It's going to take much longer, and just keeping this on the radar, but not overly watching it, is probably going to be much easier than trying to, catch a trade in it. Let's see, Eric mentioned VIRT, which I can't believe this name is actually was up on Friday when financials were getting destroyed, which is probably a good sign for this name.
Yeah, earnings flag right there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a financial name to buy, this probably is one of the few. Looks good.
I got this goose too, GOS. Just watching it for now. If it keeps like the earnings gap on the way up.
You definitely want to keep on the radar. Let's see. Yeah, Juan's looking at you. We went over ONON. All right, so Juan, I'm guessing you're looking at what, up through 44 versus 41. These newer issue IPOs, definitely looks good. LCID. I personally would never trade this name, but it's definitely in play. And then let's see, AMD. I mean, AMD is tough up here. I feel like if you are already in this, from the last buy was kind of up to this like 105 area, but it being up 60% up here, I don't know what the setup is or what the game plan is, but this just seems, it's definitely going to need some time to set up before it's going to be ready for anything further than the crazy run it's gone on in the last 6 months or so. Let's see, Kush's looking at Bros. Looks really good. So up to 55 versus 50. You have to just be aware that is a 10% range. So just take that into consideration. You probably would want to be a little light in this initially, just given that, 1 day down could be a 10% move. We went over you, GLBE. Keep on, okay. All right, well, it seems like you guys like to talk in this chat more than talk with all right, let's see. Any last things you want to go over before we get started with the day?
Patience pays. That's it.
All right, guys. Well, let's have a good light week. It's not doing anything too crazy. Hopefully we can find a good trade or two.
All right. Peace out.
All right, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, see you guys.
Cheers, man.
See you guys. Let's see.